So back in October of 2023, it was announced that Wiggle Chain Reaction was in some serious financial issues and that entered into administration, which basically meant that Wiggle CRC was unable to meet its debt obligations. So a licensed insolvency practitioner was appointed to either restructure the business and come to arrangement with creditors or to sell off assets, pay off creditors, and to liquidate the business. So I did make a video about that a couple months ago, just going over the details of it. I've left a link in the description. So now, about 2 to 3 months later, there are some updates to the situation, and we're gonna go over them in this video. So first is back in December, Wiggle and Chain Reaction stopped accepting international orders, and they decided to only focus on the UK domestic market. So this really wasn't too surprising, since according to them, only 15% of the revenue actually came from international orders. But the really big thing that just happened is that Wiggle CRC is actually shutting down their flagship store, but they will still maintain their online store for now. And the senior store manager, Dave Aston, did release a statement where he said, quote, "We regret to inform you that our retail store located on Boucher Road, Belfast will be closing its doors next month. We sincerely appreciate the support from all of our customers over the past 12 years. We will continue to serve all our customers through our online store, chainreactioncycles.com, where you can shop our full range and receive support, warranty, and aftercare services from our customer services team." And the last piece of big news, to me, is actually pretty shocking. So back on January 3rd, the UK government released documents that show the unpaid creditors. And there's a lot of companies owed money, but one of the shockers is legendary racer Sam Hill, who's owed more than £34,000, which is the equivalent of 43,000 US dollars. Now, something to note is that this money doesn't appear to be a salary for racing, but instead, it's money that's licensing for new-proof products like his handlebars and pedals. And while this sucks for Sam, we still have to remember there's a lot of companies and people who are still owed money by Wiggle CRC. And at the time of this recording, it's confirmed that Wiggle CRC is over 67 million pounds in the hole. So to kind of sit back and can study this, we're gonna ask 2 different questions. So the first question I have is, how did Wiggle CRC get themselves into this mess? And this is gonna seem pretty obvious, but it's a lack of revenue. But if we want to deep dive a little more into it, I think there's 2 main contributors for the lack of revenue. First is obviously that the bike industry is in a really bad place right now, and most companies are in survival mode. And the second, I think, is the pandemic and Brexit. As an international buyer located in the US, I noticed about 3 years ago that the international shipping costs had skyrocketed. So much so that the increased costs outweighed the value of ordering from Wiggle CRC. And I think this resonated with a lot of other international customers as well. Back in 2021, when Wiggle CRC merged with the parent company, 58% of the revenue was from the UK, 20% was from Europe, 7% from the United States, and 15% from the rest of the world. So that means that a little over 2 years ago, 42% of their revenue was from international orders. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, it's now to only 15% of the revenue. And which we now see, once Brexit and the pandemic happened, shipping costs went up and international orders went down. So the question I leave you with is, do you think that Wiggle CRC will actually survive? Or do you think they're going out of business? I personally do think that they're going to be sold to another company, just because the CRC name is known worldwide. But whatever you think, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great one. And I think the obvious answer is there's a lack.